Ukraine war updates. Russia strikes Kyiv as Russian troops move into Belarus. As the week begins, here's a look ahead and a roundup of key developments from the past week. After 2 consecutive Mondays of strikes on Kyiv, concern is rising in Ukraine's capital as the war with Russia nears the 8-month mark. NATO will hold nuclear deterrence exercises starting Monday. NATO has warned Russia not to use nuclear weapons on Ukraine but says the steadfast noon drills are a routine, annual training activity. Russia typically holds nuclear exercises around the same time. Russia's military moves in Belarus, a Kremlin ally that borders both Russia and Ukraine, are also being watched closely. Russia launched a barrage of attacks hitting Kyiv and cities across Ukraine, October 10, in what's considered its most extensive attack since the early days of its invasion of Ukraine this year. Russian agents detained 8 people on October 12 suspected of carrying out a large explosion on a bridge to Crimea, including Russian, Ukrainian and Armenian citizens. The United Nations General Assembly roundly condemned Russia's move to illegally annex 4 regions of Ukraine. In the October 13 session, 4 countries voted alongside Russia, but 143 voted in favor of Ukraine's resolution, while 35 abstained. 2 men shot at Russian troops preparing to deploy to Ukraine, killing 11 people and wounding 15 before being killed themselves, Russia's defense ministry said on October 15. Russian troops began arriving in Belarus October 15, which Minsk said were the first convoys of almost 9,000 service members expected as part of a regional grouping of forces allegedly to protect Belarus from threats at the border from Ukraine and the West. Russia-Ukraine war latest. What we know on day 237 of the invasion. Moscow stepped up attacks across Ukraine on Monday, killing 4 people and cutting off power in a series of kamikaze drone strikes in the capital. Ukraine's Prime Minister, Denis Shmyhal, said Russia launched 5 strikes in Kyiv, as well as attacks against energy facilities in Sumy and the central Dnipropetrovsk regions, knocking out electricity to hundreds of towns and villages. Elsewhere, at least 3 people were killed when a Russian warplane crashed near the border with Ukraine. The plane struck a residential area of Yeysk, a town in southwestern Russia, news agencies reported, citing the defense ministry. Both pilots managed to eject before the crash, but many locals were taken to hospital with injuries, local authorities said. Health Minister Mikhail Murashko said 3 people had died and 19 were injured, the state-run TASS news agency reported. The Ministry of Emergency Situations had earlier given a toll of 6 dead. The reason for the discrepancy